Alright, this is this year's video. This is March 25th. We're at home on this Wednesday because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Who would have believed? Anyway, so a lot of changes over the last year. We watched last year's video and to kind of see what was different. This year we've planted these palm trees into the ground, raised bed around the post, started to put the oyster shells in there. The loquat is a lot bigger than it was last year. It's actually got a couple of fruits on it. I don't know if they're going to make it. The crocus that we planted a couple of years ago produced a few flowers. We got some saffron threads off of that. Up on the front porch, we have put some hostas there. They didn't do very well in the Tabo garden, but got too much sun over there, so we moved them new hostas and put them here on the front porch where they will get a lot of shade. We have also gone to new hanging baskets for the ferns, the coconut husk hanging baskets. The coffee plants, we've got one on both this end now. One of the smaller ones from last year grew and we've put it into a bigger pot. The bigger one is very tall now. Hopefully it will continue to grow and fill out. No flowers yet this year. That's the front porch. The aloe are still here. Going around to the side, the azaleas, which were in full bloom last year on March 24th, have already flowered. They're already done. I guess with the mild winter, they flowered sooner and ended sooner. The bougainvillea, another mild winter, has allowed it to continue to grow. We've put some wire up to allow it to crawl over the garage door with support. It's already started to fill out after its pruning a couple of weeks ago. We've moved the Puerto Rico palms, queen palms. Two of them are here. One is by the garage. The other has moved over towards the end of the hydrangeas where a Mexican fan palm was. The hydrangeas are starting to fill out. They'll probably begin to flower here in the next couple of weeks. The sage is flowering right now, a lot of bumblebees on those. The camellias have actually flowered quite a bit this year. Here's one of the flowers. It's almost done flowering for the year. The lavender, this is a replacement lavender. The one that was so big last year finally died on us. We're going to have to pull all these plants out and add more soil and rock to get this bed filled. Last year we had 2 Mexican fan palms and a cinnamon tree here. We put the cinnamon tree in the ground. We'll get to that later. But now we've got one of our papayas. The palms that were in these pots are now on the ground. We've added a flower bed there. Coming around to this side of the truck. Rosemary is still here. The asparagus are producing right now, which is good because who knows how long fresh food will be in the grocery stores. This sort of random bed is filled with flowers that we've accumulated. These wildflowers here the Mexican had. They were in a wild seed mix. So we've got all sorts of random things in here. Vincas, geraniums, aloe. The grapes have already started to put on quite a few leaves. We're going to try a new pruning technique this year that doesn't involve netting. We'll see. This year we created this box, kind of a hot box to keep things protected in the winter. That'll probably go back into the garage here in the next couple of days. Back around the truck. We pruned and shaped the olive tree this year. It's got quite a few flowers on it. We've also moved vincas that survived the winter here in this olive tree just to give some color at the base. But quite a few flowers on it this year. This is the second of our new palm tree beds. These should, in the next couple of years, give a nice tall palm trees as I pull into the driveway. That again is the grapes. We've got the elephant ear in the background there. We got those from a neighbor at the front of the neighborhood. He had a ton of them. Here is the saddest papaya you'll ever see. This tree box was smaller, more to the right, and made out of red brick and not these concrete blocks. But when we decided to put the palm trees in, we'd had a problem with the old box being too low and not draining well. So we shifted it to give more room for the palms and made it taller. This is the second queen palm that was mentioned earlier here by the fish rain change from Port Aransas. On the back porch, or on the back deck, last year these roses were just tiny little cuttings, and they have not quite filled out the wall, but they are climbing. We've got the wires put on with the eye screws into the mortar. We're tying the roses up as they go. That all happened very quickly once it started taking off. Got these little stands here for plants so that they can be watered and drain well. This bougainvillea, also pruned recently, it has not begun to fill out as well as the other one. In due time, it will. As far as this bed goes, we've got some bird eye peppers. The large pot in the back to the right is 3 different bulbs. There's tulips, there are daffodils, and there are the saffron, the crocus in there. A couple of dahlias, the bigger pots on the left. These front 2, rudbeckia, so basically black-eyed Susan, and then another one I can't remember. We'll see. This is kind of an experiment. I've got some sunflowers planted in the back. Hopefully the sunflower will grow tall, and then these morning glories can climb up the sunflower stalk. This one is a freesia, fairly sad jalapeno in the back. It survived the winter. We'll see what happens. We built this structure for yellow squash to climb over, hopefully, and they have begun to come out of the ground. The garlic and the tomatoes and the peppers are all in place. The random crepe myrtles are in the back. The pineapple bed is still doing about as well as it was. Some of them we didn't have to put the greenhouse up this year, so some of them did get a little frost and the tips are a little brown, but I think they'll do fine. Within the last year, this bay leaf, we moved it from a potted plant on the porch and put it in the ground here, and it loves it. It has flourished. We pruned it to give it some air so it doesn't get scale on it, and I think with it being out in the sun, away from, off the porch where it was getting wasn't getting the breezes, the scale problem is gone. It's doing very well. Here in the aqueduct, we planted all the bulbs that were kind of the long-term part of that. We've got amaryllis and daffodils. The amaryllis have all come up. Not many of the daffodils have yet. Back here, last March, this was a tiny little papaya, but it has grown. It is easily 10 feet tall. Those papayas were on there all fall and winter. Again, we didn't have a hard freeze, so hopefully they will ripen. I gotta look up a little bit of information about that. The fruit tree line is still the same as it was. Everything's a little bigger. Once again, Kaffir lime, Mexican lime, Satsuma, Meyer lemon, grapefruit, tangerine, guava, avocado, fig, persimmon, plum. The newest addition here, which I just finished today, is a palm tree bed that we've built at the back of the deck. It's got Mexican fan palms, it's got queen palms from Puerto Rico. Very excited about this. Our palm trees were getting too big for the pots, so we needed to find something to do. This was kind of a blank area. It should, in the next couple of years, if everything goes well, really give us a nice background on the deck. The couple little roses that we planted that Tana got as gifts is what she was teaching. They just are continuing to flourish. Up onto the porch, we've got more Mexican fan palms. Here in the bed, we've got turmeric on the right, sunflowers on the left. More Mexican fan palms. Last year, we had a Bradford pear here, which failed spectacularly again. It broke off a big chunk. We had it cut down, and I spent the better part of 3 weeks digging up the tree by the roots in the middle of the summer. That was pleasant. The ginger, we've been cutting it and putting it in the house as decoration, and I think that, along with the mild winter, really has encouraged growth on this. Here, between the house and the deck, more sunflowers, some daffodils that I planted years ago, the remaining ones that are alive, and we had potted some gardenia cuttings a few years ago, and they sprouted and rooted, and I put one here. If it grows, that's great, and we'll train it up the wall, kind of like we did with the roses. Once again, you see oyster shells. We've begun in the last year eating oysters on the back porch in the winter. Same things are going on in the raised beds here, the oregano, cilantro, chives, parsley, and the basil is just starting to pop up as well if the squirrels will leave it alone. On the porch, last year we had some very sad ferns. We've decided not to do ferns on the back porch anymore. Now we've got these petunias, which seem to be doing pretty good. We still have the 3 flower boxes. We've done geraniums in one, and in these other 2, we're going to try strawberries. Always failing at strawberries, we're going to try it again. Once again, catnip, green onion, mint. The ginger has not come up yet. This grape, I'll put in my office. I planted one in my office a few weeks ago, and it's already started to grow. This pod, as well as the one to the left, is a very sad cherry tree. The Piper nigrum from inside the house is out enjoying the warmth today and getting some water. This is the bistro set that we bought a year or 2 ago after our Germany trip. It's been holding up very great. This is an amaryllis we bought in the winter. It produced some really great flowers. I don't know what I'm going to do with the bulb now. This is a pineapple we're going to give away. The peace lily. Here is what we had been using a few years ago to hold the hose for the back porch. I planted some radishes and some carrots in there as an abundance of caution given our pandemic. Here's the strawberries. And instead of the ferns, these other 2 pots, we put, Christopher found these topsy-turvy deals in his attic. One is full of Tabascos. The other has got a tomato in it. That's an experiment this year. Also on the back porch, the Majesty palms from inside the house, and this is part of the aqueduct project. These are all daisy seeds. Hopefully they will do well and we can have them out there in the aqueduct bed as a perennial. And so we'll have something of interest out there when the bulbs are not in bloom. Coming around to the side of the house, the blueberries are flowering. The date palm is much bigger than it was last year. More sunflowers. We've got a variety of peppers here in this bed. Last year we did okra, but we still have 2 gallons of frozen okra, and we're short on peppers. So we are going to try to fill up on peppers again. And just like last year, I had a wasp come at me over here by the insect hotel. We replaced the palm that was here with a Lisbon lemon. I've always liked the idea of having a lemon tree in a clay pot, so now we have one. The lavender that we had here in this pot is doing fantastic. I never water it. It's got this rock as mulch, and it drains very well, probably because that particular type of pot. We had talked of running lavender along the sidewalk. I just don't know that I can keep it dry enough. So that project may not happen. The tomatoes are in. Once again, we're going with the stakes and not the cages. That seemed to work pretty well last year, although we didn't have a great run of tomatoes. We do already have some growing here. These are sweet Chelseas. They're going to be kind of a grape tomato. Pulled the rocks out from underneath here and used the bricks that were by the address post. New air conditioner this year. That's been amazing. Up in the window, we got a couple little seed boxes up there. That's how we started the daisies. Seemed to work really well. So we're going to try to get a couple other things going. The bananas are, yeah, they're doing fine. I didn't really get much prettier than that. These gingers also, we've been cutting and putting in the house, and they've multiplied because of that. And here's where the cinnamon tree finally wound up. We put it in the corner. I think it's going to do pretty good. It's already put some new growth on since I put it over here. It should stay protected from the cold because of all the ginger plants. And it's southern facing as well. But it won't get too burned because it gets morning sun. And it shouldn't get too mildewy because it's always breezy over here. The curry leaf, I mean, it didn't freeze this year, so it's doing great. We're trying something different here. I built this little string trellis. We've got snap peas and trying radishes here as well. This is the curry leaf that sprouted from a root. It's abundant. We will never eat enough curry to consume all that. And then over here is the Tabo garden. It has changed a lot since last year. Last year this was just ferns and azaleas, but we have added the philodendron, we've added canna, we've added the arrowhead plant, we've added elephant ear, banana, red sisters, threw some papaya seeds in here and they've grown, a monstera, another ginger. I had to dig one up to plant the cinnamon tree, but that's a guava that froze a couple years ago in the planted spot. We've got some hollyhock that may or may not come up. I planted there. This is our second geranium or gardenia that we planted, and this is the wisteria that we planted. That last week we had Kyle here, and it's begun to grow some now as it's gotten through the winter. And that's it. That's the garden for this year. And we've always got things going on.